They say heartbreak makes you softer, but in my case, it turned me into something sharper. He said he loved me while texting someone else good night. I found out on a Wednesday. By Thursday, I stopped crying, and by Friday, I had already started planning who I would become. He thought I'd fall apart, but instead, I built a life so bright, he couldn't even look at it without burning. Funny thing about betrayal, it teaches you what silence can do. It builds queens from ashes, and I became one. But before I continue, make sure you're subscribed to the Revenge by Sophia channel and let me know in the comments where you're watching from. We love to see how far our stories travel. The story begins on a bright morning, sunlight pouring through lace curtains, a soft melody playing from the kitchen. She moves gracefully, humming to herself as she sets 2 coffee cups on the table. Everything looks perfect. The warm colors, the smell of pancakes, the sound of laughter from the man across from her. His eyes sparkle when he talks, and she believes every word like it's a promise written in gold. In those moments, she feels safe, wrapped in the comfort of routine and love. He calls her his forever, and she smiles, never realizing how temporary those words truly are. But as the camera of fate slowly zooms out, a small shadow lingers, a tiny crack in the glass of perfection that no one notices. Yet. He's the kind of man people trust instantly, charming, confident, and impossibly smooth. When he enters a room, conversation bends around him like light through a prism. Her friends adore him. Her parents call her lucky. He knows what to say, how to hold her hand in public, when to whisper I love you in ways that melt her defenses. But behind that smile, there's something unreadable, a flicker in his eyes that doesn't quite match his tone. Sometimes she catches it, a cold silence after a compliment, a distracted look mid-conversation. And though her heart whispers, "Something's off," her mind quickly replies, "No, it's just in your head." That denial becomes her comfort. And his weapon. It starts small, like dust settling on a photograph. Missed calls, late replies, strange perfume on his jacket that she tells herself must be from work. He says he's tired, and she believes him, because love makes you blind to the patterns you don't want to see. One night, as she waits by the window, his text arrives. "Running late, don't wait up." The message is simple, but her chest tightens anyway, the words too flat, too practiced. She stares into the night, hearing the distant hum of traffic. And for the first time, the silence in their home feels heavy. She turns off the light, pretending not to care, but deep inside, a voice whispers, "Something is changing." And that voice will soon be impossible to ignore. It's a quiet evening at a cafe. Rain taps gently on the glass, mixing with the faint jazz playing in the background. She sits across from her best friend, Mira, stirring her coffee even though it's gone cold. Mira watches her carefully, hesitant, as if holding a truth she doesn't want to speak. "Are you sure he's okay?" she finally asks. "I mean, I saw him last night and he wasn't alone." The words drop like stones into still water. For a second, the world pauses, the clinking cups, the soft chatter, even the rain. She forces a smile, a little too quickly. "You must have seen someone else," she says, voice trembling just enough to betray her fear. Mira nods, but her eyes say something else, a silent warning that refuses to fade. When she walks home that night, every shadow seems to whisper, "Are you sure you know him?" The nights start stretching longer. He's always busy, his excuses polished smooth from use. Meetings ran late. The signal was bad. "You worry too much." Each lie slips easily off his tongue, practiced and calm. She tells herself he's working hard. After all, that's what good partners do, right? But when she lies awake at 2 a.m, she feels the weight of his absence like a storm outside her window. His side of the bed is cold, untouched. One night her phone buzzes, A message from an unknown number. You deserve better. Her heart races. She tries calling back, but the number's already disconnected. She sits there, shaking, clutching the phone like it might tell her the truth. But it stays silent. And that silence screams louder than anything else. The next morning he's back, smiling, calm, holding flowers as if nothing ever happened. Rough week, he says, kissing her cheek. His scent is familiar, but beneath it something else lingers, faint, unfamiliar, and not hers. She wants to ask. She wants to scream. But when his eyes meet hers, the words freeze in her throat. Instead, she forces a smile and nods. At breakfast, he laughs like he always does. But now, she watches him, really watches him. The tiny pauses, the fake warmth, the way his phone never leaves his side. The laughter feels like a performance, and she realizes she's not in love anymore. She's in a story she doesn't understand. And deep inside, one question won't stop echoing. What if the man I love isn't who I think he is? It's almost midnight. The house is silent, but her mind isn't. She's sitting on the couch, staring at the flickering TV that's long since stopped making sense. His phone lies on the table, charging, something he never leaves unattended. Her heartbeat pounds in her ears as curiosity claws at her restraint. For a moment, she hesitates. Then, with trembling fingers, she unlocks it. The passcode, her birthday, still works. That's the cruelest part. Inside, the truth unfolds like poison. Messages, pictures, names she doesn't recognize, words she's never heard him say to her. Can't wait to see you again. You make me feel alive. Each one hits like a knife between her ribs. The sound of the rain outside feels louder now, angry, relentless, as if the world itself wants to drown out her breaking heart. And then she sees a photo, taken in their bed. When he comes home, she's sitting in the dark, the phone in her hand, her face pale but calm. He freezes at the doorway, instantly knowing. "What's this?" she asks softly, holding up the screen. Her voice doesn't shake. It's almost too calm, too empty. He stammers, tries to explain, words spilling like broken glass. "It's not what it looks like," he says. But lies sound different once you've seen the proof. She laughs, a hollow, trembling sound that chills the air. "All this time, while I was loving you, you were rehearsing this lie?" she whispers. He reaches for her, but she steps back, her eyes wet but fierce. The silence between them stretches, heavy, final. Then she says the last thing he ever expects. "Leave, before I forget I ever loved you." And as the door slams, the sound echoes like a gunshot in her chest. The night bleeds into morning. She stands alone in the living room, surrounded by the ghosts of everything they used to be, the framed photos, the empty cups, the faint trace of his cologne still hanging in the air. She picks up a picture from the shelf, the two of them smiling, and stares at it until her vision blurs. Then slowly, she sets it down, face first. Her body shakes, but no tears come. Not yet. Just silence. Heavy, suffocating silence. The kind that fills the air after a storm but before the damage is counted. Outside, dawn begins to crawl through the window, painting the floor in pale light. She whispers to herself, barely audible, "He took everything, so what's left of me now?" The question lingers, unanswered, as the camera fades, and a new version of her begins to awaken. The days blend into nights, and the nights feel endless. Her apartment has turned into a graveyard of memories, his mug still on the counter, his jacket hanging by the door. She can't bring herself to move them. Every object feels like a wound she keeps reopening. The clock ticks louder than it ever has before, marking each passing hour she spends staring at the ceiling. She tries to eat, but food tastes like dust. She tries to sleep, but dreams turn to nightmares. His voice, his laughter, that image of betrayal replaying like a loop she can't escape. Her phone lights up occasionally, concerned texts, missed calls, but she ignores them all. No one can pull her out. She's sinking too deep. And every night, when the world goes quiet, one question keeps her awake. How could he lie so easily? It's raining again. Soft at first, then harder, until the sound fills the room. She sits on the floor beside the window, hugging her knees, watching raindrops race down the glass. They remind her of the tears she hasn't cried yet. Her reflection in the window looks like a stranger, pale, exhausted, hollow-eyed. The girl who once smiled easily now looks like she's carrying ghosts inside her. Mira calls again, but she lets it ring. She can't bear to hear sympathy. Not now, not when her heart feels like a cracked mirror. In the distance, thunder rumbles, deep and low. She whispers to the storm, "Why does it still hurt when he's gone?" Outside, lightning flashes, a brief blinding moment, and for a second she thinks, maybe the world is trying to wake her up. It's morning again, though it feels like the same night that never ended. She stands in front of the mirror staring at herself. The dark circles, the trembling hands, the eyes that look like they belong to someone else. For a long moment, she doesn't move. Then she whispers, "This can't be me." Her voice cracks, small and fragile. But as the words leave her mouth, something shifts, a spark of anger, faint but alive. She realizes that no one's coming to save her. Not Mira, not him, not even time. It's just her, and the reflection that demands change. She presses her palm against the glass as if to touch the woman she used to be. "You've survived worse," she says softly, "and you'll survive this too." The mirror fogs with her breath, and as it clears, her reflection doesn't look broken anymore. It looks ready. The sun filters through the curtains, painting soft gold across her face. For the first time in weeks, she wakes up without that sharp, stabbing ache in her chest. The world outside feels the same. Birds, wind, the hum of distant life, yet something inside her feels different. She sits up slowly, the air heavy but no longer unbearable. The bed is half empty, the space beside her cold, but she doesn't cry this time. Instead, she breathes deeply, as if learning how to exist again. She makes herself coffee. Black, bitter, grounding. Every sip tastes like defiance. The silence still hurts, but it no longer owns her. Somewhere deep inside, she feels it. The faint flicker of survival. And that flicker, small as it is, refuses to die. That evening, she pulls out an old leather notebook, one she once filled with love letters and dreams. The pages are stained and wrinkled, carrying the scent of ink and time. She flips to a blank page, grabs a pen, and writes slowly, deliberately, "I will rebuild." The words look fragile at first, shaky lines, smudged edges, but they hold weight. She keeps writing, about the betrayal, the pain, the nights she thought she wouldn't make it. And then she writes what she's too scared to say aloud. "I still miss him, but I miss myself more." Tears fall finally, but this time they feel cleansing, not desperate. They fall like rain washing dirt off old wounds. When she closes the notebook, her hands are steady. Outside, the rain has stopped, and for the first time in weeks, she opens the window and lets the fresh air in. The next day, she takes his pictures down, one by one. Their smiles look hollow now, their joy staged under the weight of lies. She hesitates at the last photo, the one from their anniversary. They're laughing, arms around each other, eyes full of everything that was never real. For a moment, she almost keeps it. Then she whispers, "Goodbye," and drops it into the box marked "Past." She scrolls through her phone, deletes his number, the messages, the photos, even his name from her contacts. When she hits block, a strange calm spreads through her chest. It's not happiness yet, not even peace, but it's the first taste of freedom. She closes her eyes, exhales, and for the first time the silence feels clean. But deep inside, A voice stirs. You're not done yet. You're just getting started. Morning light fills the room again, soft, forgiving, and warm. She gets up early now, not because she has to, but because she wants to. The world outside feels larger, louder, and somehow more alive. She begins to move. Slow stretches, a short run, a shower that feels like rebirth. Her reflection in the mirror still carries traces of exhaustion, but there's something new there too. Focus. She makes breakfast for one, opens the window, and lets the air rush in. The same apartment that once felt like a cage now feels like a canvas waiting to be repainted. Every small act, making her bed, cleaning the kitchen, going for a walk, becomes a quiet rebellion against who she used to be. And as she crosses each task off her list, the voice in her head grows stronger. You're healing. Keep going. Weeks pass. She starts reading again, books she once loved but had abandoned for him. She listens to old songs, not their songs, but hers. The ones that once made her dream. In her living room, she dances barefoot, alone, her laughter echoing like sunlight through the walls. The pain hasn't vanished, but it's no longer in control. It lingers in the background like a ghost, learning it's no longer welcome. Her friends notice the change. Mira smiles one evening and says, "You're glowing again." She laughs, softly, almost in disbelief. Am I? She's not sure yet. But as she looks in the mirror that night, hair loose, eyes steady, she feels something blooming inside her chest. It's not revenge yet. It's not even confidence. It's rebirth. Slow, patient, unstoppable. One night she returns home after a long day, her clothes dusty, her hands tired from work, but her heart feels strangely full. She turns on the lights, sees the empty apartment, and doesn't feel lonely anymore. Just peaceful. On her desk sits the notebook from before. She opens it and writes 3 words. I am enough. She sits there, staring at them, realizing how long it's been since she believed that. Her phone buzzes, an unknown number. For a heartbeat, she freezes. But then she deletes the message without reading it. No hesitation, no pain. In that moment, something clicks. She isn't the same woman who once waited by the window, trembling. The world doesn't scare her anymore. And though she doesn't know it yet, her transformation, the one he'll never recover from, has just begun. Mornings no longer hurt. They call to her. The alarm rings before dawn and she's already awake, eyes sharp, mind clear. She's found rhythm again. Coffee, exercise, work, reflection. Every step feels deliberate, like she's crafting a new version of herself from the ruins of who she used to be. At work, people notice. Her ideas are bolder now, her voice steadier, her presence impossible to ignore. The same colleagues who once overlooked her now pause when she speaks. She doesn't seek attention. It follows her. Her boss compliments her progress. You've changed, he says, half impressed, half curious. She just smiles. Maybe I finally stopped waiting for someone else to see my worth. The office lights glimmer against the glass, and for a fleeting moment, she catches her reflection. Confident, calm, untouchable. She barely recognizes the woman looking back. And that's exactly the point. Her transformation isn't loud, it's graceful, deliberate. She starts dressing differently, not to impress, but to express. Her clothes mirror her new state of mind, simple, sharp, powerful. Every step she takes feels like a statement. When she walks into a meeting, the room subtly shifts. People listen. People remember. The same people who once whispered behind her back now whisper about her, but this time it's admiration. In private, she sometimes smiles at the irony. He once made her feel small, but his betrayal became the blueprint of her greatness. One evening, while leaving work, she sees her reflection in the elevator door. Look at you, she whispers. You rose from the ashes. The elevator dings, a soft metallic sound, but to her it feels like applause. And somewhere deep inside, the spark of revenge flickers alive. Not the kind that destroys, but the kind that reminds. Weeks pass. Her name begins to circulate. In meetings, projects, and conversations she's not even part of. People describe her as different, focused, magnetic. She's not chasing validation anymore. It's finding her. She spends her evenings writing in that same journal. Not about him anymore, but about her future. Her goals, her vision, her life. Every page is a promise to never shrink again. And yet, sometimes late at night, she feels a strange chill, like a shadow standing at the edge of her success. It's not fear. It's memory. The ghost of the man who underestimated her, now lingering in the background of her rising light. She closes the notebook, exhales, and whispers, "You'll see me again." But not the way you remember. The wind outside rustles faintly, almost like a warning, or maybe a prophecy. It happens on an ordinary afternoon. The sun is warm, the world calm, and her phone buzzes with a sound she hasn't heard in months. One notification, one name. Him. She stares at the screen for a long moment, the world around her fading into static. The message is short. "I've been thinking about you. Can we talk?" Her hands freeze. Her chest tightens, but not from longing, from disbelief. After everything, after the lies and the silence, he dares to reach out. She locks her phone and places it face down on the table. But it feels like the air has changed. Thicker, heavier, charged with old ghosts. She whispers to herself, almost amused, "Of course. They always come back." Outside, a wind picks up, rattling the window pane, as if even the world knows something dangerous has been set in motion again. That night, curiosity wins. She answers his call. His voice is softer than she remembers, almost fragile. "You sound different," he says. "I am," she replies. He talks about how empty his life feels, how he's been lost, how no one understands him like she did. The words sound familiar, but now she hears them differently. They're not confessions, they're hooks. For a moment, there's silence between them, the kind that used to hold love but now holds only distance. She finally says, "You taught me what pain looks like, but I learned what strength feels like." He laughs nervously, trying to shift the tone. "Maybe we could meet? Just to talk?" Her voice is calm, cool, unreadable. "Maybe," she says, "but not for you." When the call ends, she sits there in the dark, heart steady, realizing something profound. He's still trapped in the past. But she's already living in the future. A week later, fate decides for her. She sees him and unexpectedly signed at a cafe downtown. He's alone, his charm dulled, his eyes searching. The moment he notices her, time slows. He smiles, hesitant, almost pleading. She doesn't move toward him. Instead, she simply watches. Every detail hits her differently now. The nervous tapping of his fingers, the tired curve of his mouth, the emptiness behind his eyes. He stands up, says her name like it's a prayer. "You look incredible." She tilts her head slightly, smiling, not cruelly, but with the calm grace of someone who's healed beyond recognition. "Thank you," she says softly. "You should have appreciated it when you had the chance." He opens his mouth to reply, but she's already walking away, her heels clicking against the floor, each step echoing like punctuation. As the door closes behind her, he's left staring through the glass, realizing too late, the woman who once begged for his love now walks away like she owns the world. And maybe she finally does. 3 days after their silent encounter at the cafe, a message arrives again. This time, it's not from him. It's from a mutual friend. He wants to apologize properly, the message reads. He's been through a lot. Maybe you should hear him out. She stares at it for a long while, her thoughts like storm clouds rolling in. Forgiveness? Closure? Or just another attempt to pull her back into his shadow? Still, something inside her whispers, go. Not for him, but for herself. To end this, completely. That evening, she dresses in quiet elegance. Black coat, red lipstick, steady gaze. When she looks in the mirror, she doesn't see the woman he broke. She sees the woman he created by accident. One forged in betrayal and rebirth. Before leaving, she whispers to her reflection, let's finish what he started. They meet at the same park where they once used to walk hand in hand. Only now, autumn leaves lie dead underfoot and the sky hangs heavy with gray. He looks older, not in age, but in guilt. His smile falters when he sees her. You came, he says quietly. She nods once. You wanted to talk. He starts rambling. Excuses wrapped in emotion, memories polished with regret. I made mistakes. I thought the grass was greener, but it was all just empty. His voice breaks, but her face doesn't change. The silence between them stretches, thick and sharp. Then she asks softly, Do you ever think about what you destroyed? He looks at her, unsure what to say. The wind blows, scattering leaves around them like whispers of what once was. I think about it every day, he admits finally. But it's too late, isn't it? She gives a faint, sad smile. It was too late the moment you stopped seeing me. For a moment, they stand in silence, two ghosts revisiting the ruins of their story. He takes a step forward, voice trembling. Can we at least start over? I've changed. Her eyes soften for a heartbeat, then harden again. You changed because you lost me, not because you learned. He lowers his gaze, his confidence crumbling. So this is it? She nods. No more apologies. No more what-ifs. I don't hate you, but I'll never be the same because of you. And that's my power. He looks up at her, eyes wet with the weight of everything unsaid. But she turns away, her coat swaying like a closing curtain. As she walks off, the faint echo of her heels fades into the wind, leaving him standing there, small, silent, and swallowed by the emptiness he once created. The story between them ends not with anger, but with silence. And sometimes silence is the loudest revenge of all. Weeks pass after the confrontation. For the first time in years, she feels something new. Peace. The weight that had clung to her chest slowly lifts. She wakes early, drinks her coffee in silence, and smiles at her reflection. Not out of vanity, but gratitude. She starts focusing on her goals again, the ones she buried when love blinded her. She returns to her designs, her business, her art, the things that once gave her purpose. Late nights become her sanctuary. She works tirelessly, crafting something brilliant, something entirely her own. Every brushstroke, every plan, every breath feels like revenge without cruelty, a quiet, radiant kind of victory. And somewhere deep inside, she knows he will see this new version of her one day, and that will be enough. Months later, her name begins to circulate again, in whispers, in magazines, in industry events. Her brand takes off. Her designs, bold, emotional, fearless, capture hearts. They speak of heartbreak, resilience, and power in ways words cannot. At her first public exhibition, cameras flash as she walks the stage. Reporters lean in, asking about her inspiration. She simply smiles and says, "Pain can destroy you, or it can build you." The audience erupts in applause. From a distance, someone watches, him. He stands at the edge of the crowd, unseen but frozen in awe. The woman he once took for granted now stands under the lights, untouchable, luminous, a masterpiece shaped by his betrayal. For the first time, he understands the true cost of losing her. After the event, she sits alone in her studio, surrounded by soft light and silence. She looks at her creations, every piece born from pain, now symbols of freedom. The irony makes her laugh quietly. Her phone buzzes again. A message from an unknown number. "I saw your show. I'm proud of you." She knows who it is. But this time her hands don't shake. She types back only 2 words, "Thank you," then deletes his number forever. Outside, rain begins to fall, gentle, cleansing, endless. She steps to the window, watching the city lights blur like memories dissolving. For once, there's no bitterness, no fire, no hurt, just peace. And in that peace, she realizes the truth. She didn't need to ruin him to win. She just had to rise higher than he could ever reach. He wakes up one morning to a silence that feels unnatural. The apartment, once filled with laughter, music, and company, is now nothing but echoes. Half-empty glasses sit untouched on the table, papers scattered like memories he can't organize. He hasn't been sleeping much. Every night her face flashes in his mind, not the woman he hurt, but the one he saw at her exhibition. The one who no longer needs him. He plays old voice notes just to hear her voice again. The words mean nothing now, yet they're the only sound that makes him feel human. When he closes his eyes, he can still smell her perfume. Faint, unreal. He whispers to the empty room, What have I done? But the room doesn't answer. Only the ticking clock does, counting down the seconds of a life he can no longer fix. Days blur together. He goes to work, but his focus drifts. He avoids people, avoids mirrors, because in every reflection he sees her. Not her face, but the version of himself she made him confront. Selfish, careless, hollow. One evening, he catches sight of himself in a window. Tired eyes, unshaven jaw, clothes wrinkled. He barely recognizes the man staring back. In his mind, he replays the moment she walked away, how calm she looked, how final it felt. He used to believe power was in control, in having someone who would never leave. Now he realizes real power is walking away and never looking back. That thought cuts deeper than any insult could. He turns from the mirror and mutters, "She's the strong one now." At night, the dreams start. He sees her standing at the end of a hallway, always out of reach. Sometimes she smiles. Sometimes she turns her back and vanishes into light. He wakes up drenched in sweat, heart pounding, calling her name. But the only response is the hum of the city outside. He tries to fill the void, new faces, empty nights, louder music. But nothing silences the whisper in his head. You lost her. You made her this strong, and now you'll never have her again. He checks her social media, scrolling through her achievements, her interviews, her smile that no longer belongs to him. And in that moment, it hits him like a storm. He didn't just lose her love. He lost the version of himself that ever mattered. He hasn't been himself for weeks. His friends stop calling. His work performance drops. Even his reflection seems to watch him with pity. He tells himself he just needs closure. Just one more conversation with her. Maybe she'll forgive him, maybe she'll smile, maybe she'll remember who they used to be. So he starts driving by her studio at night, convincing himself it's just coincidence. He watches her from his car, the glow of her workspace window, the silhouette of her moving gracefully as she paints or writes. It's not love anymore. It's haunting. He whispers, "You're all I think about." But the sound of his own voice frightens him. In the silence of the car, he realizes he's not watching her because he misses her. He's watching because she's become everything he can't be. One rainy evening, he gathers the courage, or madness, to approach her building. He waits outside until the lights go off, then knocks softly at her door. She opens it halfway, surprised but not scared. "You shouldn't be here," she says calmly. He looks exhausted, rain dripping from his hair, eyes red and pleading. "I just need to talk." Her tone stays steady. "There's nothing left to say." But he steps forward, desperate. "I've lost everything since you left." "I can't sleep, can't think." "I need you to—" She cuts him off, voice sharp as a blade. "You don't need me. You need to face yourself." He stares at her, stunned, unable to answer. For the first time, he sees himself through her eyes, small, broken, dangerous in his denial. She shuts the door gently, locking it without a word. And behind it, he hears her footsteps fade away, like a final goodbye carved in sound. That night, he drives aimlessly through the rain, the wipers blurring the world into streaks of gray. His thoughts crash over each other, anger, sorrow, obsession. He remembers every word she said, every time she forgave him, every moment he didn't deserve. His chest feels heavy, like something's collapsing inside. He stops the car by the river and gets out, rain soaking through his clothes. The city lights shimmer on the water, distorted, unreachable, like her. He screams her name once into the darkness, but the sound is swallowed by the storm. Then silence. Only the rain. He sits there for hours, broken and hollow, until the first light of dawn touches the horizon. And with it comes the cruel truth. She moved on, and he never will. Because sometimes losing someone isn't what breaks you. It's realizing they became whole without you. Morning sunlight filters through her studio windows when her phone starts buzzing. One message, then another, then dozens more. At first, she ignores them, assuming it's another press request. But then she sees the words, "Have you seen what he posted?" Her heart skips. She opens social media. His face fills the screen, pale, desperate, live streaming in the middle of the night. His words are slurred with exhaustion, his voice trembling. He speaks of her by name, He confesses his mistakes, his guilt, his love that never died. Millions watch. The video spreads like wildfire. By noon, headlines scream her name alongside his. Heartbroken ex confesses live, begs forgiveness from famous designer. Her chest tightens. She didn't ask for this kind of attention. The past she buried is now front-page news, and the whole world wants her reaction. By evening, reporters are outside her studio, their cameras flashing, questions cutting through the air. Do you forgive him? Will you respond to his message? Was his story true? She says nothing, slipping quietly through the back exit. The world's noise feels suffocating, 100 voices dragging her back into pain she worked so hard to escape. Inside her car, she sits still for a long time, watching the rain streak down the windshield. Her phone vibrates again, an unknown number. A text. I didn't mean for this to happen. I just wanted you to know how sorry I am. She doesn't reply. She can't, because she finally understands his apology was never about peace. It was about attention, and she refuses to be his redemption story. That night, she opens her laptop and writes a statement. But instead of addressing him directly, she speaks to the world, and to every person who's ever been hurt. Her voice is calm, steady, powerful. Forgiveness doesn't mean reopening old wounds. Sometimes the best way to forgive is to let go, to wish them well, but walk away stronger. She posts it and closes the screen. No bitterness, no rage, just truth. Within hours, her message trends. People flood her comments with support, admiration, and stories of their own healing. As the night deepens, she looks out the window, at the city lights, at her reflection, at the quiet peace she fought so hard to earn. Somewhere out there, he's still watching, still regretting. But for her, it's over, truly over. And in the stillness of that night, she finally feels untouchable. It happens quietly. No media, no crowd, no stage. He sends one last message. Please, just one more time. I need to say it face to face. For days, she ignores it. But one night, as the wind howls outside her window, she realizes that ignoring him isn't peace. It's postponing closure. So she agrees to meet. They choose a quiet cafe far from the city center, the same one where she once saw him again for the first time. When she walks in, he's already there, eyes hollow, fingers fidgeting with his cup. He looks like someone who hasn't slept in weeks. She sits across from him, calm, composed, radiant even in her silence. He whispers, "You look happy." She smiles softly. "Because I am." And for the first time, he believes it. He speaks for a long time, words tumbling out like broken glass. He talks about the guilt, the sleepless nights, the dreams that won't fade. "I ruined everything," he says. "And you became everything I could never be." She listens quietly, sipping her tea, eyes unwavering. When he finally stops, his voice trembling, he adds, "I just wanted to know if you ever think about me." She pauses, thinking carefully. "I think about who I was when I loved you, and I think about the strength I found after losing you." He nods slowly, tears forming. "So there's no chance?" Her answer is gentle, but final. "No chance. Because I finally learned that love doesn't mean holding on. Sometimes it means walking away, for good." A single tear falls down his cheek, landing on the table like a quiet ending. They sit in silence for a long time. Outside, rain begins to fall, the same kind of rain that once marked their heartbreak. She stands up first, placing a few bills beside her cup. "Take care of yourself," she says softly. He looks up, voice cracking. "You're really leaving?" Her reply is calm, almost kind. "I already did, a long time ago." She turns and walks away, her reflection in the cafe window fading with every step. He watches until she disappears into the rain, her silhouette swallowed by the gray, yet somehow glowing in his memory. For him, it's the end. For her, it's freedom. And as the door closes behind her, so does the last chapter of their story. Weeks pass since that final meeting. The memory of him begins to fade like fog under morning sunlight. She wakes up early one day, sunlight spilling across her sheets, warm and golden. The silence of her apartment is no longer heavy. It's peaceful, alive. She walks to her balcony with a cup of coffee and looks at the city. The same city where she once felt small, now a world she quietly owns. Birds scatter across the sky and she breathes deeply. No pain, no regret, just calm. Her reflection in the window smiles back, confident, content, reborn. She whispers, "It's over." Not with sadness, but with gratitude. For the first time, she doesn't need anyone to see her strength. She simply is it. Her career soars higher than ever. She opens a foundation to help women rebuild their lives after heartbreak, not as victims, but as creators of their own stories. Every time she speaks at an event, her words echo with quiet fire. Pain isn't the end. It's the beginning, if you let it be. Her studio walls are filled with new designs, bright, fearless, unapologetically hers. Sometimes, when she works late into the night, she catches herself smiling at the thought of how far she's come. She no longer seeks validation. Her peace is no longer borrowed. Everything she has now was born from the ashes of what once destroyed her, and that makes it sacred. One evening, as she finishes a live interview, the host asks, "If he's watching right now, what would you say to him?" She pauses for a moment. The question doesn't sting anymore. Looking into the camera, she smiles softly. "I'd say thank you for teaching me what love isn't, for breaking me just enough to rebuild myself stronger." The studio falls silent. The audience watches, moved, inspired. Later that night, she walks home alone under the city lights. The world feels wide open, not haunting but inviting. As the wind brushes through her hair, she knows one thing for sure. She didn't become everything he wanted. She became everything he could never have. He thought he broke me, but all he did was build a woman who no longer needed him or his validation. Some stories don't end with revenge, they end with evolution. And sometimes, the sweetest justice isn't in what you do to them. It's in who you become after they're gone. He still watches, quietly, from the distance where my light can't reach him. But that's the thing about healing. It blinds those who once thrived on your pain. So if you're listening, to anyone who's ever been betrayed, don't waste your energy trying to hurt them back. Just rise, because one day they'll look at you and realize you became everything they could never have.